Board of Education. Roll call, please. I'm sorry. Don't have to jump in again.
I gave all my attendance away, I'm sorry.
We've done up to Joyce.
Wait, it's too loud.
This is just funny because I told Brad we just wait on the paper for the other agenda. Oh, but now I don't have the agenda. Okay, sorry. Mr. Linder.
Here.
Mr. Moore.
Here.
Mr. Ritzenthaler.
Here.
Mrs. Snellinger. Mrs. Wick. Here.
Okay, Section B, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need to adopt the agenda as it was received. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Wick, for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Wick? Yes. Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Linder?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes. Okay, Mr. Cooley, recognition state qualifiers cross country.
Yes, if we could all make our way around to the front here so we can shake one of the two persons' hands here today. So recognition of our two cross-country runners that made it to state. They took care of business at the league level as well. They won the SBC. So Zuri Immel and Mr. Cromer here, who's the whole family's here. So glad to have them here in support. Mr. Kenya, Mr. Kish, and Coach Pope. So it's been congratulations. It has been a fun 4 years watching Mr. Cromer run. If you have not seen him, obviously he's got a different body type than some other people up here, so you know, like he floats. He makes things look really easy. So if you haven't seen him in cross, he has one more season running track. So make your way out to track to see Mr. Cromer. Like I said, he's a lot of fun. SBC champion, danced all the way through and made it to state and was at Old Batson, had a good run there. So great high school and obviously good enough. He takes care of business in the classroom as well. He can pick and choose where he wants to go. He can pick and choose if he wants to run in college. That's how good he is. So Mr. Cromer. Thank you. Our freshman girl, Zuri, is not here today. She's actually swimming at Ontario tonight. So very active. So she's down and swimming there. So if we waited to the board meeting until like 9, we probably could recognize her, but we decided to move on without. So we'll make sure she gets this certificate. I will, a little connection for those that know, each of the two being recognized have middle school siblings. So one is here, Mr. Cromer, the middle schooler, and Zuri's got a sister who also running at the middle school level, and they too won the middle school championship. So it was nice when Mr. Kenya and I went there to see our kids at all levels, middle school, girls, boys, high school, girls and boys, be the top dog. And I think they've been dubbed by Norwalk Reflector as the first families of Norwalk cross country. So that's the Cromers and the Immels. So congratulations. Next, we have a special report. Not being in school, we saw the effects of that from the social emotional side to the loss of learning academic credit wise. There was a lot we learned over that stretch that all schools are having to make things better because of what happened in the past year and a half. So we've learned a lot of things, and Mr. Kenya, high school principal, and Mrs. Becky Drennan, who is the director of Compass Academy, been here for some time in Norwalk High School. They will present on what our students have done in the short time since being back here with credit recovery and learning loss.
All right, thanks again, Mr. Cooley. Told me it was a short agenda, so I was to extend it, so it feels like we're earning our money on some of our last meetings. I want to say congratulations. Thank you for your service on the board as being in your last meeting, and definitely for 3 terms, I believe. Again, thank you for that. I appreciate all that time. So this is something I used to do in, I think, the spring, and prior to COVID, it had been like a year and a half to that, just an update on our credit recovery. Because when I came in to start, there was a lot of, I guess, a lot of issues around graduation rate, getting kids credits to graduate, and we had to do something, and we started our Compass Credit Recovery Program. And you should update annually. This is a service we use through North Point ESC, and it filled in a lot of rules during last year. And kind of two parts to this here. First, I'm talking a lot on our learning loss issues and students credit deficient, and then just kind of update on what our Compass program does for us here at Norwalk High School. So there's no doubt that, COVID-19 presented us, or all schools, not just unique to us, with definitely some issues. And one of the things to come into this year is our class sizes of 21, 22. So to come in this fall, what are we facing in this building? And we had a lot of not balance or unbalanced to say. Our freshmen were 261 strong. Our seniors were down to 136. And these are the number of kids that were in the building. So EHOVI's out of those numbers. So juniors and seniors, you'd expect to lose, 50 to 60 per class on that. But you can see definitely a large number of freshmen in that group. And a lot of that is due to during COVID-19, there were some issues presented and kids did not have the credits to be there. You need 5 credits in order to be a sophomore, 10 credits to be a junior, 15 to be considered a senior, and 22 total credits in order to graduate at Norwalk High School. So a lot of this is centered on credit deficiency, how to recover credits. And that's the big thing. We have students in every type of situation. Not everyone's in the same boat. Kids impacted by COVID-19 who did not attend school regularly. They got sick over time. Their parents got sick, interrupted. Were not able to recover credits. To kids who chose an online option because they were given that opportunity, did not get a lot of stuff done. Various reasons for that. And also, like, back to our class sizes, that's another stressor in the school, just to say uneven class sizes so much, to say when you schedule, I need this many freshman sections. Like some of them, we're talking 12 sections in a freshman group. And then, we have a senior group. We actually have a senior class with 3 sections, because the numbers get down so much. So in spreading people out, we have people kind of out of position or uneven class sizes, but definitely saw some of that. We also, with all this stuff, had attendance accountability issues. The state, if you remember, just like on funding, we're held on frozen funding. So there was not, there were kids who were able to be in online school and not perform, to say that. And I don't know how many home visits we made, no matter what we did to try to encourage them to get to school, there was an avenue where they were not always getting stuff done. And hence we had different sizes with all of our different classes and so on and so forth. At most weeks as assistant principal, I sent out letters for kids who are not on track. Most weeks last year during COVID, I was sending out about 50 attendance letters per week for kids who are not meeting their expectations of work for the week and trying to get them back on track. And then again, it was a year where courts were unable to intervene during that time, so we had a lot of students fall behind. So we looked at our issues this year, and I grabbed my office team and a group of people I work with closely, like, where do we start here? Because we got kids multiple grade levels behind. So I said, we got to set some type of goal. So we set a goal. We need to get at least 80% of these kids back on track this year. Like, we need to set a number and something to strive for, because, back on track, some of them maybe 2 grade levels behind. That means how many kids are we getting completely caught up, and then come up with a system for how to do that. So we put some things in place for that. First thing we did, we hired a full-time substitute like we did for our other buildings. In our building, that's Sharita Knott. Sharita, I was able to call her and get her to come back and help us out. She is somebody that the staff knows, works with closely, vested in the school district, and she was on board with what we were describing. We need you to help with learning loss, help with our kids who are credit deficient. We need that extra set of eyes who can pull out and work in small groups. We met with every individual student who is credit deficient. So we need to have this meeting. We need to document it. So with counselors and that student, set a plan for them to get on track. How are we going to get back to graduate on time? So that was individual meetings with 100 kids. Each one of those we invited parents to. We got parents to a lot of those. We assigned credit recovery courses. So in many cases, kids are taking, strategically a load of classes here at Norwalk High School seated, and then they got one or two that they're working through our credit recovery and Compass program to help recover those credits at the same time, because every kid's in a different situation. So you can't take, the large scale, I'm going to take an excavator approach to handle this job. Everything's like with a fine tooth comb. We need to look at each individual situation, what makes sense to get them on track. How much can they handle? Can they handle one extra class? Can we get their core classes out of the way? So on and so forth. Yeah, and in many cases, had their parents and stuff in, and that was a lot of work up to start the year. And then also, as part of this, we developed graduation plans for every single student, sent those home to parents after their sophomore year, or if they're deficient, to make sure there's documentation along the way. Here's where they're at. Here's where we expect them to be. Here's where their credits lie. This is their standard here for graduation at Norwalk High School. So, when I looked at this, I pulled information prior to our December board meeting or December staff meeting. So beginning of December, we're like 3 months into the school year, technically. September, October, November completed. And some of our success stories, we have already got 14 kids promoted to back onto grade level that they should be. We have 11 more on track to make it by the end of this year, this calendar year. So that's only a few more weeks left. So getting that many back on track that quick. 14 students that were assigned specifically into our Compass room have returned back to study hall because they have gotten that credit, they have received that, and they're moving on to seated classes only to get there. And then we've recovered over 100 classes so far, along with Shrita and our Compass Academy program, which is quite a number when you think about it. That's individual classes credits presented by them. So, and a lot of that was done with a lot of hard work. And then Mrs. Knott has done a lot of that. I'll take small groups of English kids, take 3 or 4, pull them out, provide them with their instruction, because, no matter what the state has done to us, they've eased restrictions on graduation tests. There's never been an easing of this is how many credits you need. You have to earn that. Like, there's no magic wand to say you become a 10th grader. You have to earn the credits to be that 10th grader, and do that yourself as a student in high school for that matter. So she has done a lot of that work. We thank her for that. A lot of this is due to our Compass program provided by Mrs. Drennan, and I'm going to actually have her present on a couple of the things. I also wanted to touch on some of our statistics and things that we dealt with last year while this provided our online instruction to our students. So this is Becky Drennan. She runs our Compass credit recovery program.
Hello. I'm in my 3rd year here at Norwalk High School. I've come here, I've been with North Point now 8 years. I came here, my 5 previous years were at the Erie County Detention Center. So I like to think I'm in my wheelhouse working with difficult students. I love working there, and I really enjoy my time here as well. So we provide our virtual learning, our Compass program through Jefferson County is who we get the licensing through. So they provide the curriculum. It's all state-aligned curriculum delivered online. Kids log in on a daily basis, and they access their coursework through that Compass program. In a traditional year, we serve anywhere from about 85 to 110 Norwalk High School students. Providing licensing for those for Jefferson County instruction. Last year was much different for us. We were tasked with taking care of the middle school and the high school's remote learning needs last year during COVID. So last year, I think I issued something like 315 licenses to students. And again, our normal is like 85 to 100. And we did that with myself. I have a full-time aide. We did get the help of Tracy Piscitello from Main Street as a full-time teacher for us as well. And then we had a part-time person who was grading for us during that time. The work could be overwhelming at times. We had many, many, many students. And so when Mr. Kenya and I started talking about this, I referenced the total number of students on Norwalk City School District's website, which is 2,787, if that's accurate-ish as to last year. So that meant that our program interacted with about 11% of the total enrollment of Norwalk City schools last year. And we did that with 3 full-time people and a part-time grader. We had about, even though I issued 315 licenses-ish, we had a lot of fluctuation. There were kids who went remote and then got online one time and decided, no, I hate it, and they came back to school. But we had steadily about 225 students. Around 50 of those were from the middle school that we were dealing with on a weekly basis, trying to serve those students the best we can. I looked back at I looked through some emails that I sent towards the end of last year, and it was like April 15th, I think. I looked back and I had sent an email saying that I had 931 classes issued to students. So that's like a classroom teacher having 931 students in their class. Just by comparison, right now, as we return back to a normal kind of situation, I have like 106 classes assigned to students. So it feels a lot better. I'm a lot more comfortable with that. But it is been very rewarding for us, especially because we do see quite a few students who are multiple grades deficient, not just like they failed one biology class and they have to come make it up with me. A lot of times it's students who, are supposed to be graduating this year and they're sitting in my classroom with 8 credits or 10 credits, which is very, very common. And we have had students who have come in and just really felt like there was no chance at all that they were going to be able to graduate. And we've been able to show them the light at the tunnel, like the end of the tunnel, and have had quite a few students. We even had a student come and we gave him his diploma and took pictures with his mom out on the front sidewalk. He didn't make it to graduation day, but he did finish. And that particular student, we really had to work hard on and did not expect him to be able to make it, but he was able to pull through. And that was some of those times during COVID where we were at home, of course. I was Zoom tutoring with students to try and help them get to graduation. And we've had several students like that that make it really exciting for us to see kids who thought they couldn't have a chance at graduating and be able to make it through. I think that was it. Covered it, right?
Yeah, and Becky is like one of our unsung heroes working behind the scenes. You don't commonly see that in your face, what's going on, the number of kids impacted by this program. But yeah, that is a special moment for us in a high school to, hand the first kid in their family graduate from high school their diploma, shake their hand, even if it's not with our graduation, but get them through and note all the fight that they've put in. And a lot of the kids we serve, for whatever reason, they've been transient, moved in and out. Sometimes they get that connection with Mrs. Drennan. We knock it out, get them to graduate, get them to pass their tests, because that's still, part of it too, and get them on their way. So that is kind of where we're at right now in the year. I can't wait to see where we finish. I fully anticipate us reaching and going above our 80%. I should have set that higher in the first place. We hope we don't gather more of those credit deficient kids as we go and keep up with where we go. But that's where we stand, and that's kind of what our Compass program does for us. They have a classroom in the across from the Ox Gym, and we have kids circulate throughout the day. Some are assigned there all day, varying degrees of whatever they can handle. So that is our update on that from the high school. And again, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, item number 4, public participation. Each person who wishes to address the board will be asked to give his or her name and address. Remarks should be limited to 3 minutes in length. And as everyone who wishes to do so has had that opportunity to speak, that additional comments may be made up to a total allotted time of 30 minutes. Is there anyone tonight like to speak? Mr. Germont.
My name is Bob Dumont. I live in the Norwalk School District. I'm an Air Force veteran and a retired teacher. My children and grandchildren have all attended Norwalk Public Schools, and I served on the Norwalk School Board in the 1980s. I appreciate this opportunity to speak. Those of you who know me know that when I speak, I always tell the facts and the truth. I have a great concern when a board member uses social media to air grievances of the past and the present. School board members should be at all times be professional and show personal integrity. Negatively using social media concerning our school system is very unfortunate and harmful. Sharing information that may or may not be true or taken out of context or without getting both sides of the story can be very harmful. A good leader should deal with an issue immediately by requesting a private meeting or phone conversation to work out the problem discreetly and professionally. A good leader would also only speak with the persons directly involved with the issue instead of publicly shaming or gossiping. And a good leader would deal with the issues of immediate concern, not issues that happened many years ago. I believe we have a highly committed and dedicated superintendent leading our district. Mr. Cooley has dedicated himself to leading the children, faculty, staff, and the administration of the Norwalk City school system. Mrs. Wick, your post on social media stated that you attended seminars and capital conferences. What did you learn about ethics and leadership? When you posted on Facebook, you did not let the people know that a majority of what you talked about happened about 6.5 years ago. I believe your main goal when posting on Facebook was to defeat Mr. Linder and get a friend elected, and you were successful. What problems specifically do you have with Mr. Cooley in the past 20 years? Give us the facts. You bought his salary of $140,000, and yet our former superintendent, Mr. Fisk, was being paid $139,400 his first year, and that was over 5 years ago. Mr. Fisk also was paid $150 a month to pay for his cell phone and high-speed internet. Is Mr. Cooley being paid the same $150? In closing, I noticed that the November board meeting that you couldn't make eye contact with Mr. Cooley when he was talking. You say you have 2 years left on your board term. How could you possibly ever work effectively with Mr. Cooley given your current attitude? It's going to be a difficult task. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak tonight? Okay, treasurer's report.
Okay, first I want to thank Mr. Linder and Mrs. Schnellinger, who's not here. She's at her daughter's basketball game, but I want to thank you both for all your years of service. I know being a board member is a difficult job, and sometimes a thankless one, and you have hard decisions that don't please everyone. And just want to thank you both for stepping up and doing this all these years.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And your support of all of us in public education. Thank you very much. So with that, for your final meeting, we have the minutes that were sent out from the November 16th meeting. Then we have the financial reports, and I'm sorry to say for November, it's kind of a short little month. We do have a couple items to note in November. If you can click on your financial reports and open it up to, there's a fund balance, couple pages in. Okay, right there. And if you scroll down towards the bottom a little bit, this is the fund balance. These are all of our funds that we have. And you'll see down there at the bottom, all the negative amounts in the federal funds. We're required to spend our federal funds and then request to be reimbursed. So when you're looking at this fund balance report, you see a lot of that awaiting ODE funds, Ohio Department of Education, to the tune of $1.15 million at the end of November. We have had a payroll since November, so we're now at a negative 1.6 million. This is affecting our cash balance. It's normally its lowest during the months from November to March anyhow. There's two reasons for this. One is these regular federal funds. When you look, you'll see the IDVA, the Title III, English Language, Title I, Title IV. Those are our regular federal funds. They had all been substantially approved by ODE for a July 1st date, so we did have the authority to spend them, but we didn't have the final approval from ODE because they're basically all working from home and they're having trouble getting their work accomplished. So we didn't have the final approval, so we didn't, we just received it, I think, last week. So we should be seeing the reimbursements any day now. We should have been having these reimbursements since the beginning of August. So this is, I mean, we're already into December. The other part are these Esser funds. The state did not appropriate enough funds to cover the amount that the district spent. So although they're federal funds, they flow through the state, and we have to wait on the state for appropriation authority for them to reimburse us for these funds. House Bill 169, that was the appropriation authority. It was just signed, just made its way to the governor's desk, hopefully for signature. I think he got it on Friday. So hopefully he signs it and it moves along and we see our reimbursements soon. You remember this also happened last year with the Esser money. We were waiting on the legislature to appropriate the money again so that we were able to have our reimbursements. Fortunately, we have enough cash in our general fund that covers our payroll while we're waiting. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to pay everybody tomorrow, and that would not be good. And this is another reason when you look at our cash balance in our general fund, why it's so important that we maintain a healthy cash balance in our general fund, because these things happen and we need to have that money there that we can pay our bills while we're waiting. You might remember if you hear like the county, the cities talk about their Esser funds, they were actually given all of their funds up front. They didn't have to spend them and we reimburse them. They were just given their money. But schools, for whatever reason, are treated differently. November, we also received a payment of $14,237.58 from the state. This was toward the money that was lost to ECAT, the electronic classroom of tomorrow. It closed January of 2018. ECAT was an online charter school. It was unable to substantiate the enrollment, so ODE started clawing back over $80 million that had been paid from all the local school districts for the 15-16 and 16-17 school years. There was also an issue with their founder and other school officials that had illegal interest in their school contracts. So if you remember, under the prior funding, a charter school was paid last year $6,020, but only received from the state $3,626. So that money going to charter schools was our local tax dollars going there. So the $14,237 isn't anywhere near the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've paid to them, but it is at least a start along the way as they try to settle this court that there's a suit going on that the Attorney General is doing against ECAT. So at least we're seeing some money back. And as far as our state foundation funding, ODE originally said that it was going to be October when we would know what our new funding numbers were. Then I got pushed out to December. And then I was so excited in December to open that email only to see that it said, sorry, it won't be till January. So we still don't know where we're at with our funding, but maybe in January I'll be able to give you some good news there. That's really all I have for the financial reports. We also have the Norfolk Public Library has a trustee reappointment, Mrs. Gherkin. The public library is what's considered a school district library, and the board is required to approve their budget and appoint their trustees. So that's why you see her on there for the appointment. Then we have donations. We had two donations. We had a $1,000 donation to the Tom Phillips Scholarship, which is handled by Robin Rogers in the drama department. And then we had $1,215.32 worth of supplies that were purchased for our intervention specialists at one of our elementaries. And that was also an anonymous donor. And that is all I have for you this month.
A motion to accept all items under treasurer's reports. So moved. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wick. Any discussion, questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Linder?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes. Okay, next item, personnel. Mr. Cooley.
Items for approval, we have the appointment of Scott Spettle, Dean of Students at Main Street School. This is a short window of time. Talked to Mr. Ballman, he had a health procedure done last week. So Mr. Spettle is serving in the capacity to handle the administrative responsibilities at Main Street School. So that is a number that matches what we've done in the past for other recent administrators that have that license and need to serve in that capacity when the principal is out. So that is standard fare in that sense. Number two is employment of substitutes. We've been successful. Mr. Reen has interviewed a handful of candidates, and the ones that are listed there are the ones that we look to add to Norwalk City School District in support of our teachers when they're out. We have both certified and classified listed there in the lineup. Number three, we have a volunteer, classroom volunteer in Victoria Quillen. And then lastly, a volunteer coach at middle school, Colton Anderson. That is the short list of personnel for December.
All right, motion to accept all items under personnel. Thank you, Mr. Linder. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Witt. Any discussion, questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Linder?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes. Okay, superintendent's reports.
Yes, first item, in looking at our calendar, we were short of some professional development days that our district needs based on staff development. So working with our district leadership team, our curriculum and tech director here in Jen Gerber, we have looked at the calendar, what fits best in the timing to where we can develop and work with teachers that's going to help ultimately our kids. So what we're asking for is a day, which is a student day currently on the books, and turning that student day into a staff-only day. So staff in service day on January 28th, that is a Friday. So I'm going to hand the baton to Mrs. Gerber, and she's going to speak to the value of what our district leadership team has developed for use of that day.
I'm gonna try to multitask and live stream and speak at the same time. I'm trying to block you perfectly. There we go. As Mr. Cooley said, what we're asking is to add a professional development day at the end of January, Friday, January 28th. And so this will be a day without students, but all staff will be present. And the purpose of it is vertical alignment and curriculum adoption. So we have three major areas that we're looking at to adopt new materials for. So this can include textbooks, lab materials, online materials, and things like that in language arts, science, and foreign language. And language arts in particular, reading, writing, those kinds of things, especially at the elementary level, is really, really critical for our students. And in order to do a good job of selecting very good materials that will probably cost a significant amount of money, a lot of time should go into that and being very selective and critical of what we're picking. So in the past, what we've done is given half days to teachers where we provide substitutes in their buildings, and then they get pulled out of the classes to meet and talk about those things. And even with the addition of the substitutes that we have now, that's still extremely difficult for us to do and provide that time. And that's just for, say, one building. So what we'd really like to see is to have a day where teachers don't have to worry about a sub, they don't have to worry about lesson plans. And not only can we have additional or individual departments meet, but we also want to have some time where teachers can meet from different buildings. So that's going to allow some really good conversations to happen about some of the things that even Mr. King talked about. Where are students struggling? What kind of strategies, skills, and things like that are important for our students? And our teachers really don't get that opportunity very often. So they may be able to meet with their teams and things like that periodically in the buildings, but there's very rare occasions where we've been able to send the second grade teachers, say, meet with the first grade teachers, middle school teachers meet with high school teachers. So those conversations are going to be very, very valuable. And what our district leadership team is going to do, pending board approval of this day, then is plan out what that day is going to look like. So we'll identify with the administrators, with the teachers, what are the most important groups that need to meet, what do they need to focus on, again, things like the content, the strategies, the skills that our kids need to see some consistency with across these subject areas and all the different subject areas that we have in our building. So we also have a professional development day that's already on the books on the 18th. Half of that day is contractual for the teachers for grading because it is the end of the semester. So this 28th day is going to work well with us because teachers will have finished up their grading, the semester's ended, we won't have to make up preschool hours or things like that. It'll still be with busing, transportation, some things to work out, but our transportation director said that he would take care of it. But again, it's going to give our teachers an opportunity to meet together in their teams and have some really good conversations about where these curriculums can go. So that's what's being proposed for the board tonight.
It's a very good idea, because I was, involved in this years ago, and it was tough. When you had a substitute coming in, and you didn't hear the ideas that the other teachers had. I mean, there was a group of us, but then another group in the afternoon. So this is good that we're all getting together at one time. So,
And there's a lot of different groups, special ed teachers, title teachers, and even our building secretaries. That wouldn't be necessarily a group you'd think of on a professional development day. But we have a new program, Final Forms, and they need time to talk about that too among the buildings. So we plan to make good use of the time.
yeah, good idea.
And our best case going forward is looking at our calendar for 22-23 is making sure that alignments there, the PD days are built into the calendar. So we're DLT with Jen at the helm, doing a great job of designing what makes sense. So Rick Brown, I have a lot of discussions as NTA president with him on how this works best with our teachers, where things fit in the calendar, because once those kind of fall into place, we'll know where the best fit is. March 14th is also on the books. That's a staff professional development day, or it's a calamity makeup day. So obviously, as superintendent, I have not done a good job, as the students know. I've yet to have a fog day or any 2-hour delay or anything called off. So right now, it's looking like March 14th will be a in-service day, given where we are right now. But you never know the blizzards of January and February, so we shall see. So thanks, Mrs. Gerber.
Okay, you need to vote right now, or do you want to go with items for discussion? We need to vote after that one.
We can vote on that one. The second one will be your item that you will serve as president. So that needs to be on item number 2.
Okay. Need a motion to accept the item number 1, calendar change.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. This second. Second. Thank you, Mr. Linder. Any other discussion? A roll call, please.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Linder?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenhour?
Yes.
Mrs. White? Yes.
Okay.
So for the second item, typically the current president serves as the president pro tem until the organizational meeting is completed and the president, be it the same or a new person, is in that position. So that needs to be determined at this time. If Mr. Ritzenhour, current president, will serve in that capacity for the January meeting.
Section C, Adobe News. What?
Jacoby News. They are actually graduating their first RN class that they started out in. Will be graduating this week, because this was last week's. And of Police Academy as well. Applications are open. Surprisingly, they've had 429 applications, and we're not even done with this end of this school year, which is for next calendar year. So if any students are interested in Jacoby, I highly recommend that they get their applications filled out. And Skills USA competitions are back in person, which I'm happy for. I have more exciting news, but I can't reveal it yet, so I'll save it for, hopefully I can tell everybody next month. So that's it.
Nutrition Group, the November report.
Yes, so our food service director, she will be presenting here live in person in front of us in the January meeting. She had submitted, which they do from their company, the large report. So that was the November report. You should have received that. Basically speaking to the supply chain concerns that are happening throughout our country. It's no different trying to secure foods that we need to feed our kids. So we actually, it was reported on there. It's interesting. We have a new chicken vendor that's seemingly coming through for us. So some of the chicken lunches that are served to our kids that kids like, I don't know, you can speak to it, that they're all right. So we get one thumbs up back here. Interesting, during the Thanksgiving stretch, we have a lot of administrators. I think they were in the paper that had some turkey carving experiences. So I know Mrs. DuPont, several others, Mrs. Gerber partook in the turkey carving. So they are doing good things, and obviously evaluating them and what they do in the nutrition group. But wanted to point that out, and knowing that January we'll get the report from the reps themselves.
Kids eat free till the end of the year, right? Yeah.
Food's even better that way, right?
Yeah, there we go. All right, number 3, legislative report. Anybody have anything on that?
SB 1, so the last month we addressed, we voted, we approved the substitute flexibility. So we are getting, and Mr. Ream can speak to this better than I because he directly interviews that. We have had individuals that haven't completed their 4-year degree per se, maybe significantly older than 21, but we are getting those people. So we did widen the, I guess, the pool of candidates based on that approval from SB1. Another part of SB1, which I'll be working with Mrs. Gerber and Mr. Caney and the counselors on, is the financial literacy piece. So next year's incoming freshman class, we'll have to look at how financial literacy is a part of a half unit. So financial literacy is always, for the handful of years, has been a part of what we do. Now it's going to be a half unit. So that's going to be built in. So we're looking as to where does that fit best? Is that within the social studies curriculum, flip-flop, or part of econ as a senior year? So that'll be developed as part of the high school and Mrs. Gerber and that with SB1.
Okay.
House Bill 126, I'm afraid they'd be coming to a floor vote tomorrow. It's been in committee meetings. It's a tax valuation change. It basically takes away any ability of local boards of education to counter complaint any tax valuations. This normally as a board, we don't ever do this on residential properties. It's usually on, you'll remember we did it with the
Bill Giant.
yes, right, Bill Giant Eagle. It's like GDS properties where they had wanted to lower their valuation by millions of dollars. And that property, although it's sitting empty right now, it still has a lease on it for quite a few years to go. So the people that own the property are actually still receiving money, even though what was it, the pack hands? Is that what was it?
Yeah, originally.
Had gone out. So there's things like that where it's really important for local boards to be able to do this, because if something is undervalued in that case, it means everybody else is paying more, because that's the way tax valuation is. So it's really important that we're able to look at these things, and when it's justified, ask the Board of Revision for accurate values. And what House Bill 126 does is it takes it completely away. Boards of education, any other taxing entity, not just boards of education, have no ability to have any say so in it. It's an unfortunate legislative maneuver, because really what we would need are for our homeowners to be taxed properly, not to have businesses that can afford to pay their taxes have theirs lowered at the expense of raising our residential property. So I'll be reaching out to our representatives in the morning, because I think at 10 a.m. is when it's going to vote. And that's really all. There's some other miscellaneous ones out there, but other than, of course, we want the governor to sign 229 so that we can get our reimbursements out of our Esser money, but that's pretty much all that's out there legislatively.
Okay, next item, board discussion or comments. We can kind of link this into the next one too, if you want to make a comment about the people that are leaving us.
I'd like to make a comment. Mr. Linder, I would like to commend you on your retirement from this position. I'd like to thank you for your 12 years of service, for your expertise, for your comments, things that you have done for us, your guidance when I first came on the board. I came on as a rookie, and you and Mr. Whistleblower took me in and showed me the ropes, and I really appreciate everything you've done. Your shoes are going to be big shoes to fill. Let's hope we can do it. So again, I really want to thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd also like to thank Steve and also Beth Snellinger, who's not here tonight, but Beth's 4 years of commitment to the board and the things that she's done. And Steve, your 12 years. I don't recall you ever missing a meeting. I mean, you've been to everything. Even during, if we had something during the daytime, your boss has been very good to you, working things out. And I know you hustled back many times to make it here by 7:30. Your hair was still wet, but here, you got back here in time. The meeting started on time, and you did an excellent job. I can remember one of the items that you got involved in was the parking lot out here. It started to crumble, and you were on top of it because that's the kind of job you were involved in at your work at Cosing. So, but you're going to be missed. 12 years with you. I didn't have 12. I had 8 with you, but you definitely are going to be missed, and that is definitely going to be tough to fill. But thank you for everything.
Thank you. It's been nothing but a pleasure. It's been a learning experience, and
I've enjoyed every minute of it. I think we've made some great strides, and Norwalk City Schools are on the road for great things.
I appreciate you. There's no doubt from anyone, you are a Norwalk trucker through and through. When you sit in this position, sometimes it's tough, and people have to be in these positions know that sometimes you have counterpoints that are different than what other people want to hear. That's the reality of being in these positions. But are you a Norwalk trucker? I don't think that's been questioned by anybody, no matter what position you held. I appreciate your support all the way through. Obviously, most recently, my candidacy from high school principal for a long time at Norwalk High School to be in the seat I am. Your support on that was very meaningful. And like I said, I appreciate your support there. But it's not about me. It's about you and what you've done for our kids for 12 years. You have 3 terms, and that speaks volumes of what you are, what the community has thought of you, to be the fact that you've been 3-term board member. So congratulations. I do have a service plaque for you, but probably of greater value to you is a lifetime pass to the Norwalk Trucker Game. So you have a lifelong gift there on the backside. So take to the backside. Been hanging up before you pull that off. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Shake your hands too.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you all. It's been nothing but a pleasure.
As Mr. Ritzel and Mrs. DuPont spoke of Beth Schneider, we had parent night actually at the boys game, which is happening right here as we're playing Willard. So she wanted to be there for the initial on the parent recognition was between games, and she wanted to stay there for her daughter. So that's why she's not here. So Beth also is getting her plaque and her lifelong pass. So thank you for Beth and her work here in this term from 2018 to 2021.
Okay. Anyone else? A motion to adjourn. So moved. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. Roll call, please.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Linder?
Yes.
Mr. Ritz-Pauli?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Continue later on, Steve, for this conference.